Dan from Green Acre Sportsman's Club and DT Systems Dog Training Equipment. Here today to give you some useful points and exercises to work with your pointing dog from the time you get them as a puppy. Usually people acquire their dog when they're 7 to 8 weeks old. And at this point, it's imperative that we start training our dog. From the time you come in contact with your dog, you're training them whether you want to or not. So we're going to show you how to gain a lot of good from short, simple exercises that you can do at home. Let's start out with handling our dog. It's very important that we begin socializing our dog immediately when we get them home. Now, socialization is one of the 3 important elements of puppy training, and it involves getting our dog used to things that it's going to see as an adult while it's still a puppy. And part of socialization is the dog learning to be handled. So when you get your puppy home, it's important that you handle them physically a lot. But let's talk about one of the most important elements of handling. Usually when we pick our dog up, they're going to want to get down at a certain point. When they want to get down, they're probably going to wiggle and try to get away from us. It's very important that we set precedent at this time that they're never going to receive positive reinforcement when they do the wrong thing. Because positive reinforcement is the most important element of dog training. You never give positive when the dog's doing the wrong thing. So we don't want to promote the dog wiggling and fighting to get their way. So we use physical pressure, which is a form of negative reinforcement. And negative reinforcement is something we're going to use for the rest of the dog's life. We use a little bit of pressure by the use of squeezing the dog a little bit until they relax. And when they relax, we relax. Once they relax, we let them down. When you're handling your dog at home, handle him in many different configurations. You notice that I've got Dolce here, a little female Vizsla, upside down. And the dog's not going to feel comfortable like that, but you notice she's laying there just fine because I taught her with the way I handle her that she's not allowed to wiggle when I'm handling her, or I'll put a little physical pressure on. When the dog relaxes, I'll relax, and soon the dog realizes all they have to do is relax and everything will be just fine. It's important that your dog learns to be handled like this when they're a little puppy, when they're easy to physically manage. As this dog gets older, they're going to become more difficult to manage. Okay, everybody that gets a puppy most likely has a dog crate. It's important that you pick a crate that's small enough so the dog doesn't have liberal room to run around, but big enough so they can just about stand up in it. Right now, let's just talk about putting our dog and getting into the crate and getting him used to it. When you first get your puppy, put them in the crate for short periods of time. That way you will not create a separation anxiety. Don't come back to get the puppy out until the puppy is calm. If the puppy is barking, just let them bark until for one reason or another they stop barking. Then come get your puppy out. So short periods of time in the kennel so we don't create any separation anxiety. Now, when we're going to put our dog into the kennel, we're going to use positive reinforcement in the form of treats to help the dog understand that the kennel is a good place and help them in understanding how to get into the kennel without fighting. Some treats here, and I'm going to use the treats to coax the dog into the kennel. First, make sure that the puppy takes the treat out of our hand. Good, so he knows what we've got. And then I'm just going to put my hand in the kennel with the treats and use the other one with a little pressure on the strap collar in order to get the dog in. Then I'll shut the door and leave a few treats. Now it's going to take a while for this puppy to understand. It's going to take our puppy a while to understand that when they get in, they're going to get treats. Now, this is one of the most important parts of puppy training. Teaching the dog to wait at gates, doors, or passageways for our signal to be released. So we've got a great opportunity here. The dog's in the crate. We have physical control of the scenario, which is one of the critical elements of dog training. We've got physical control of the scenario, and we have the dog wanting something. We have a positive reinforcement to be able to give the dog. So we're not just going to give that positive reinforcement away. We're going to wait until the dog does what we want him to do. So this is the first way this dog's going to learn the whoa command. So we've got our door, and obviously this dog is going to want to get out. He's pouncing at the door, etc. So what we're going to do with our little pup is we're going to continue to open and shut the door, bouncing the door on the puppy's nose until they finally stay back and don't rush the door. And once we can open this door all the way up with the dog staying in the crate, we will release them. Nope. By saying their name. Dolce. Good. So the dog is learning right away, when they're excited, they can't just do what they want to do. They have to go through us in order to receive that positive reinforcement. It's important that whenever our puppy is outside of its crate, that we're watching him. Never leave a puppy unattended until they're completely trustworthy. If you don't watch your puppy, chances are they can have an accident or get themselves into trouble doing something wrong and pick up a bad habit. So it's very important to watch your puppy anytime that it's outside of its crate. Let's talk about getting our dog to learn proper habits in regards to relieving itself. We want to prevent bad habits with puppies. So we never want to give this dog an opportunity to make a mistake and have an accident in the house. The way we do that is we try to make it impossible for them to make that mistake by getting it out and giving it a chance to go to the bathroom anytime after it's eaten, anytime after it's drank water, anytime after it's been in the crate for an extended time, any time after the dog has been sleeping, or any time past 10 minutes outside of its crate. And if you do that, and you make sure you walk your dog for a long enough period of time outside to ensure that they relieve themselves, you'll pattern in the right behavior. And dogs are cyclic just like people. They have habits. If you create good habits, the dog is going to naturally seek those good habits and do it that way again and again. When you get your 7-week-old puppy home, get a nylon strap collar that fits snugly such that you can't pull it over the dog's head. And get yourself a short lead. Now this can be a conventional lead that you purchase at a store. This can be a short piece of cord that you tie to the collar. The most important thing is that you allow the dog to drag this lead around when they're a little puppy and get used to it. In the beginning, we're not going to try to pull on it. We're just going to let the dog drag it around on the ground. And we're going to also teach our dog to take treats from our hand in the house. Now this dog is outdoors, and since it already knows what birds are, it's looking for a way to entertain itself. When it was in the house, the treat would be the most important thing, and so it would pay a lot more attention. But as you can see, I'm teaching this puppy to take treats out of my hand. After the dog gets used to the lead for about 3 or 4 days and gets used to taking treats out of your hand, then you can start using the two in conjunction to teach the dog to come to you. Now, you're also going to give a command when you coax the dog to come to you and give it treats. We use the word heel to get the dog to come to us. Heel. Good. So we're going to be kindly insistent with this lead, meaning we're not going to pull hard, but we're going to teach the dog that if they succumb to the leash pressure and come to us, they're going to get something for themselves. Good. And if you decide that you want to heel your dog on one side or the other, use that relative hand. I want this dog to learn to heel on my left, so I'm using my left hand. That'll be important later. Okay, back with Dolce, our 4-month-old Vizsla. We're actually demonstrating pedestal whoa, which will actually start with dogs that are 7 to 8 weeks old and continue on during their puppy training. Here we have an upside-down garbage can, and this provides us a fairly unstable pedestal to start teaching our dog the whoa command. So we're going to carefully place our hands under the belly and under the neck to stabilize our pup. We're going to set them on this pedestal. And then we're going to slowly take our hands away. Notice we have our lead on as well. And we're going to keep our hands close, and we're going to allow the dog to decide whether they want to jump off or not. If they jump off, it's important, I'll demonstrate, to catch our dog. So have your hands close, very close in the beginning, and don't trust them. And have your garbage can, an upside down kitchen garbage can, on a flat surface so it's stable. You don't want it to be wobbling around in the beginning. Your dog gets up there, just continue through insistency and repetition to get him to stand on this pedestal. And you'll notice, eventually, after falling off a few times and being caught by you, they will stand on this pedestal. Once the dog comfortably stands on the pedestal, you can offer them a treat. Good. After several days of this exercise, when your dog becomes confident and associates positive, in other words, they recognize that they're going to get a treat and they take the treat readily, you can begin actually giving the dog the command. When you put them up on the pedestal, you give the dog the whoa command. Now, as the dog gets better and better at this, you can trust him a little more. And you notice that I have my hand on the leash. Just in case the dog begins to fall off, I can catch them. We're going to demonstrate that. Dolce's probably going to come off here in a second. But you notice I'm making it more advanced now. I'm walking around the dog, and Dolce doesn't want to fall off of this pedestal. So the pedestal creates a thought process naturally that causes the dog not to want to move. And we're going to build an association with the word whoa. Good. Good. This also teaches the dog humility. It teaches the dog that we are dominant and that in certain situations we have complete control. And this sets precedent. Good dog. Good. Eventually we can walk all the way around the dog. Whoa. Whoa. Using the lead to help stabilize the dog. Whoa. Whoa. And this can be done once a day. Cut. The best way to start our retrieving exercises is actually in a house, down a hallway with all the doors shut. Starting from the open end of the hallway, throwing the bumper into the closed end or the dead end. That way when your puppy picks up the object, they won't have any other option but to come to you. When they turn to you, you praise them. Chances are they'll come running back and then just scoop them up into your arms. You should still let them drag a lead while they're doing this. Don't do too many retrieves. The cardinal sin of retriever training is to do too many and bore your dog. Quit while your dog is still excited. How do you guarantee that? You quit when your dog's excited. So if it's one retrieve and your dog does it correctly in the beginning, quit then. Only later, when you're positive your dog is going to go for the next one, you can begin adding more retrieves to your scenarios. Once a dog is proficient doing retrieving and excited about doing retrieving in the house, down the hallway, then you can have your longer lead on. We've got a 30-foot check cord, and go outside. When you go outside to do your retrieving, it's important to do it in areas that have as little distraction as possible. Have your lead unfurled, so you're not going to get tangled in it. Have your retriever bumper up, and hold your lead close to the dog. That way the dog's not going to get tangled. Get the dog excited like you did inside, and throw it short first. Now if this was day number 1, I'd praise my puppy. I wouldn't take the bumper out of its mouth for a while, and then when I took it, I'd give it back. Good dog. If this was day number 1, that's probably where I would quit. That way I guarantee the dog's not going to get bored with this exercise. Only after the dog shows consistency and excitement for retrieving should we add another retrieve. Dolce. Good dog. Good dog. Once our dog becomes confident with the suitcase method, when we're just standing still, we can begin to walk around the dog. When we do this, we're going to want a little more control, so we're going to loop the lead around, put it through the handle of the leash, around the belly, like this. Hook the clasp end to the collar, and now we've got a little more control. If the dog gets excited, just literally grab him like this, use your hands to stabilize. We don't want this to be a horrible experience. Good. And bring them back into the suitcase whoa. Now as the dog becomes better, we can walk around the puppy. Again, if the puppy moves, watch what happens. Puppy moves, we just catch them with the suitcase, lift them up a little, bring them back to where they were, start over. Whoa. Very quickly, your dog will allow you to walk all the way around. When they've done that, give them a treat. Good. Take your time with this. Use a lot of repetition. We just have a puppy. We don't want to use heavy negative reinforcement.